starting inside. An instrumental part of Agora worldwide. Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide. Counter economics, agorist strip. Black market click, move a quick flip. Can't regulate this, agorist strip. Black market click, move a quick flip. Can't regulate this, agorist.
Agorist.
Agorist. Nexus, agorist.
Agorist.
This is Brandon with the Agorist Nexus podcast. I'm super excited to have Shane Radliff on. Really interesting guy. He does a lot of great stuff in the movement. Runs Liberty Attack Publications, all kinds of books in there. He's written for Agorist Nexus. He's done some editing work for us. Just a overall cool dude, very interesting guy. He's got a lot of stuff going on, so definitely want to bring him on the show. But before we get into it, shout out to our sponsor, Presearch, a decentralized crypto privacy search engine. Earn crypto rewards as you search. Some people complain about having to enter in an email for it. You can enter a privacy email. If you want to use our link for Protonmail, and you go premium with Protonmail, you can have like an alias for Protonmail. So you can enter in like whatever Protonmail address you want that's not taken, and use that. And every time people use that address, it will be forwarded to your real address. So nobody will know that that alias account is yours or connected to your real email. So and there's all kinds of other privacy emails you can set up without having to enter in really any information at all. I think Tata is encrypted, but you've got to wait like 48 hours for that. And so anyways, use our link below for Presearch. Get away from Google and big tech. And it's definitely a great project for sure. But with that said, let me get on with it here. How you doing, Shane?
Hey brother, doing quite well. It's great weekend here at the homestead of Veritas Pasnia, and always a pleasure to connect with you. So it's been a few years, I think, since we've chatted, at least 3 or 4 years, a long time, way too long. So it's good to connect again. Excited to chat.
Yeah, man, way too long. Yeah, and super glad to have you on the show again for sure, man. I want to get into I want to start with Vonuism. I know that we covered it a little bit in the other podcast that we did, but you know, when you hear somebody say, you know, I'm an agorist, or like I'm a Vonuist, is that how you say it, like Vonuist or
Vonuan, Vonuist, Vonu, yeah. That may not actually be the right way to pronounce it. I'm finding out after reading all the old Vonu zines, but that's how we've been pronouncing it for like 4 years. So we'll just pronounce it wrong. Go with that.
yeah, just pronounce it wrong. But yeah, you know, when you hear somebody say I'm an agorist or a Vonuist or both, you're like, holy crap, you know. First thing that goes through my mind is like, you know, this person's, you know, elite, you know, and I think that's what Kant can pretty much consider, like, you know, agorists were like advanced libertarians, or you know, and but when somebody says they're agorist and Vonuist, you know, it's like, you know, this guy, you know, really knows his stuff. And going into a little bit of what Vonu has and what it is, man.
Yeah, for sure. So, just definitions real quick. So, Vonu is basically lifestyle changes in pursuance of an invulnerability to coercion, as opposed to, say, freedom or liberty. So, it was a freedom strategy developed, or I guess, founded by a guy pseudonymously named Rayo, back in the 60s and 70s, and he was a very, very radical guy. He in the late 60s decided to move out of his apartment into a camper mounted on a pickup truck, and started writing for various libertarian scenes. Vonu wasn't a thing until, you know, later on in the 60s, but he was a part of something called the Free Isles Project, which I guess would have been mid 1960s. And they were the early seasteaders. They were trying to come up with a model for, you know, having a network of free isles with, you know, voluntary government in like the vein of Ayn Rand, because you can't escape that in the 60s in libertarian circles. So yeah, it was that was a really interesting first project. I actually just released the full audiobook for that. And there's not all of it's necessarily relevant, but there are some things that we might actually use here for the free public capacity. There's some good ideas in there. And there's one chapter on competitive dispute resolution, which is one of the biggest thing that's necessary, and in addition to like private defense, private security. Um, I think, private art, competitive dispute resolution, alternative dispute resolution is really important. If we're going to be gathering in physical space and time, and if we're going to, show that we have, viable voluntary alternatives to the first realm statist, violent coercive alternative, not just the status quo today. We've got our own alternatives and they can work, and I think there's an interesting model there. But anyway, so yeah, it's through radical lifestyle changes. And Rayo, after the Free Isles didn't really pan out, and the world only kept getting crazier, which is we can certainly attest to in our day and age. And he pursued Van Nomadism first, like I said, and then he realized it wasn't enough freedom for him. That if you had to beg the state to give you a driver's license and pay, registration, and then driving on government roads, having to deal with bludgies, cops, enforcers. He kind of realized it wasn't as a free of a lifestyle, but it's a great interim lifestyle to get you out of like renting is super expensive nowadays, massively expensive. And housing, mortgages, they're expensive and they come with their own privacy problems, with identity and such, and again taxes and all of those things that Vonuans try to avoid. So yeah, after realizing that, he pursued a wilderness Vonu, and basically split time in his RV and in a polyethylene A tent. So just a tent out in the Siskiyou region, Northern California, Southern Oregon, and tried to correspond with some folks, put out a lot of really really incredible publications like Vonu Life, which I acquired the entirety of Vonu Life and all the other Vonu zines a few years back, and I just finished digitizing Vonu Life, which is just a massive wealth of information on self-liberation. It's crazy. It was published, like these were from like 1970 to like 1974 or something, was when this ran, and it's wild how relevant it still is, and how radical it still is today. And yeah, eventually Rayo disappeared, and Jim Stum, the guy who was kind of the archivist of all of these things, released Rayo disappeared in 1974, and in 1983 Jim Stum released Vonu: The Search for Personal Freedom, which was an anthology of Rayo's articles that ones that Jim found most important to introduce the idea of Vonu, and kind of the lifestyle changes and such. But yeah, so it was 1984 was when that book was released, and it was kind of Vonu was pretty much dormant until 2015 or 2016, or I guess it was more properly 2016. We talked about it on Libertarian Attack Radio, covered and I, but we kind of revived it. We talked about it. We did 6 or 7 hours of it as part of the Direct Action series on LUA Radio back in 2016, I think it was. And then, yeah, we started the Vonu podcast in 2017, and now we're expanding Vonu. So, that's kind of the long and short of it. And I guess to just speak a little bit more to the action behind it. I mentioned Van Nomadism, wilderness Vonu, security culture, crypto anarchy. Like a lot of the, I know you and your audience are into a lot of, cryptography and privacy enhancing solutions, cryptocurrencies and things along those lines. So that would all be Vonu. Basically anything you can do to make yourself more vulnerable to public coercers, governments, and private coercers, just private violators of person and property. And yeah, I guess that's a pretty good overview on Vonu, I think. But yeah, if anyone's interested, we would do the Vonu podcast, vonupodcast.com, and there's lots of free audiobooks on the podcast feed. Lots of, obviously the season 1 on philosophy, season 2 on the practice of Vonu in the 60s and 70s, and then season 3, which is our ongoing development of Vonu in the modern day and age. There's a lot of resources there, and I definitely recommend people check it out if they're interested.
Yeah, definitely check it out. It's great stuff. I mean, I try to practice Vonu lifestyle as much as possible. Whether it be like with what I've done with my homestead in Mexico, Vonuism was a part of my decision to go ahead with it for sure. And so I don't have rent. I've always got a home. No landlord can kick me out or raise my rates due to hyperinflation or anything like that. So I'll never be homeless here. And then yeah, in terms of like, it's good, definitely good to do it, the financial part of it, make sure your books are squared away and all that. And that way, if governments ever do come after you, you're all set. So yeah, it's really a lifestyle that I do and that I encourage others to look at as well. So
I think we talked about this last time, but since this is the Agorist Nexus podcast, ethical enclave trading was an article that Rayo wrote in the late 1960s, which um, yeah, ethical enclave trading is essentially agorism. Just before even Konkin, I think when Rayo wrote that article, Konkin was like 17 or 18. So yeah, people go to VaniPodcast.com and just type in ethical enclave, then you can find the article, episodes, etc. But yeah, I mean, practicing in the counter economy is definitely, a Vanu act. Limiting your I guess visibility and availability to the coercers in the financial realm. And then obviously just for, financial independence, self-liberation purposes, licenses and registration and all that stuff is very expensive. So if you can do business without acquiring those things, you can, save your fellow man a lot of money, and you can, even be better off yourself. So it's a win-win for everybody, as any agorist would know. But so yeah, agorism is definitely a part of Vanu, most certainly.
yeah, absolutely. I think they kind of go hand to hand for sure. I don't see how they couldn't really. It's great that they synergize on each other. So, um, what now? You have mentioned Pasnia. I don't know if our audience remembers or if the new people know what that is, but yeah, go into the free the free republic of Pasnia if you could.
Yeah, for sure. So this was um so basically in 2020, my buddy Henza came out, and I wanted to try and host a freedom festival here at the homestead. So somehow I organized it all. At that time, I was on Keybase. Keybase is kind of, that's a long, it shows you how long ago this was. Keybase, I guess some people probably still use Keybase, but it was a long time ago. Organized the entire thing on Keybase, and ended up having about 30 people out at the homestead. So yeah, it started out initially as just a freedom festival, and then like a month later, I was declaring my homestead to be an independent property, and coming up with the overall idea for the Free Republic of Pasnia. So basically, the idea is it's geographically independent, quote unquote, country, or a second realm network. A parallel network is another way to think about it. So our 22-acre homestead here, an hour and a half east of St. Louis, Veritas Pasnia. Yeah, it's the Veritas node of Pasnia. And then yeah, there's one in Colorado, there's one in Michigan, there's apparently some over in Europe too that I guess have kind of popped up on the map. Um, but basically it's just a parallel network, under the guise of a country. So obviously, as any good country would have, we've got passports. We offer we call them stakeholder memberships, basically STEAK holder memberships. And so yeah, people become stakeholders and get a passport, then get a flag. They can get Pasnia beach towel too now. That was a new offering as of a couple years ago. Never
Dude,
know
and those
what people
passports,
might like.
they look they're like legit, dude. They're like for real legit. And I remember that I definitely want to get one for sure, but I not only want to get one, but I want to try to get it like stamped, like use it to like cross the border and
Hmm.
shit and to like legitimize it. Like, dude, what do you mean it's fake? Like, Mexico fucking stamped that shit, like
Right.
definitely try to get it like definitely stamped and stuff like that. But I didn't know you guys had multiple locations. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, the idea is an overall network. So there's home. So the big project early this year. Um, I've been putting out, circulating a form for the past couple of years for people to add, locations to the eventual, Pasnia mapping directory. And the first one's for the private vetted folks. It's a vetted network. Based off Vonu and security culture principles. So it's a vetted network. You have to like these. So we've got our initial stakeholders that came to the very first Vonu Fest. And so only those folks, so there might be 50 or 60 people now that have access to the map. But yeah, that came out in January. The map and directory, there's like 30 something locations on there, ranging from homesteads to guerrilla gardening plots to local health food stores to local raw milk suppliers. Um, there's I guess a city squat spot for for a traveling bait nomad somewhere in the Midwest. I'm not going to disclose anything more than that, um, but yeah, there's also anything that could be of value to a self-liberator. There's a lot of services that are valuable that have been co-opted by the first realm, and we can still have all of those and without interactions with those privacy violating and coercive institutions. So yeah, that's I guess the overarching goal of the Pasnia network is to replace all the necessary institutions of the first realm, the realm of coercion, deception, etc., onto a framework of voluntarism and truth.
which is the second realm, right? The
Hmm.
first realm's pretty much just like the statist realm, and the second
Hmm.
realm was just like the liberty realm in essence, right? I mean,
Hmm.
do I have that correctly? Pretty much.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, the second realm is the realm where autonomy is respected, and not only
Yeah.
respected, but encouraged in every facet. So the Pasni map and directory was one of those infrastructure things that's finally there, and I'm the next step for that is I'm going to put out a public one. That's it'll be, yeah, totally public, available to anyone and everyone. And bigger infrastructure projects too. Like for the past 7 months, we've offered, I guess, yeah, Pasnia.chat is the website, and it's our own self-hosted Jitsi server, just like you can on Zoom. People can go and start their own chats, Jitsi chats, encrypted, um, self-hosted. Quote unquote. It's on a VPS right now, so it's not self-hosted here, but it's there for folks, and we're actually going to double down on that and make it 6 times better. We're going to get 6 times more amount of RAM. So um, yeah, Pasnia chat does not work right now. It's been down for like the past week or so. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but we're already moving to a bigger and better solution. And yeah, a lot more again, like anything in the first realm, like so-called like Netflix and Spotify, Fascist Tube, various podcatchers. Um, we're basically self-hosting everything. I guess basically making it where you don't have to interact with those services, and you can get privacy-friendly alternatives for these things. So. Yeah, it's a big bit, but again, everything, anything and everything. We're gonna live these principles in the here and now, and we're gonna build out a network. Wherein, nomadism is a big part of Vonu. There are already a lot of nomads in the network. Whenever a map and directory is out there, people can start playing trade routes. And it's another way. Financial independence is like the hardest thing for a lot of folks, breaking away financially from the first realm. And this is one of those ways. And you could have, second realm drivers. A lot of people drive for their jobs anyway. So like use your van for second realm purposes instead. And we'll trade you can facilitate trade amongst homesteads all over the USSA. Got plenty of that going to Mexico, plenty of that going to Canada. I mean, it's really um I need to go more in depth on it. We're on the Vonnie podcast. The next one, Kyle and I are recording tomorrow, is going to be we're calling it the Great Pasnia Rundown, and it's been like a year or two since I've really put out anything extensive publicly, and since the founding of the Free Republic of Pasnia, the visions come together a lot. So yeah, we're recording that tomorrow. So I guess it's July 21st, and it'll come out in the next week or so. And yeah, I definitely recommend folks check that out because we're gonna go through it for an hour or two. And Kyle isn't even Kyle and I, my old Bonnie podcast co-host, and I just kind of started recording again, so he doesn't really know that much about it. And he's been the biggest proponent of Bonnie and security culture for the past like decade. So I'm excited to get his thoughts on it. There's a lot there. I'll stop talking for a moment.
Oh no, you're good, man. Yeah, well, definitely love all the information that you're giving out. I don't think I asked this question before, but how did you get into how did you get into all this, like the liberty movement, libertarianism, like agorism, and what quote unquote radicalized you per se?
Yeah, sure. But I guess it's been ever since I was 18 or 19. I stumbled across the movie, I guess a documentary on Netflix, 9/11 Loose Change, when I was like 18 or yeah, I think I was 17 or 18. and watched it, and I'd never come across any information like that before. I didn't ever really think about the government at all, really, except when they pulled me over for bullshit tickets and stuff. I really never thought about government or anything. And it wasn't immediate. I watched it, and that was kind of the first exposure. But it wasn't up until probably 6 months or later when when I kind of got pushed back onto the path a little bit, and even um, yeah, even way further than 9/11. I found a 9-hour presentation by Bill Cooper, a Porterville presentation, and I also found his prediction on June 28th, 2001, where he predicted 9/11, and that whatever they're going to blame on bin Laden, don't you even believe it? He was the real one that predicted it. Alex Jones wasn't, for anyone that's Alex Jones kind of stole Bill's prediction. And they had their own little squabble back then. But yeah, Bill Cooper was the one that radicalized me, for sure. So I came across him, and yeah, watched there's maybe a dozen presentations on YouTube that I watched them all, and then I've came across houroftheTime.com, where at one time, I'm not sure if it's still around, but his entire 2,000 hours of radio show archives from 1990 to 2001 were all there. And so I worked at a moving company at that time, and all I did was for 8, 10, 12 hours a day just sit there and listen to Bill Cooper. And obviously, we're talking agorism and Vonu, and you're getting into some of anarchism. And yeah, he was a constitutionalist. There's a lot of talk about militias and all that. But but then obviously the deeper conspiratorial realms per se. And yeah, I guess that was the case until I guess up until 2012 or so. I'd finished the archive already, and Bill Cooper was the motivation as well. In one of those presentations, he's like, if you want to, he's basically imploring people to start a radio show. It's like, all right, I'm gonna start a radio show. And yeah, that was February 8th of 2015 was the inaugural live broadcast of LUA Radio. And and it started as more like the same vein as Bill Cooper, conspiracies from a constitutionalist perspective. I wasn't an anarchist at that time yet, or an agorist, or anything of the sort. But yeah, it was only a few months later I found anarchism, agorism, the various anarchic schools of thought, which again, yeah, agorism would be one of those, and did the direct action series. Or I guess started planning the direct action series off of our Freedom Umbrella of Direct Action. Yeah, I guess that was the first thing I noticed. I got into the realm of freedom of anarchy, and no one was really talking about solutions. So very, very soon after, I went down, I did the Austrian economics stuff. I read Human Action by Mises. I read the Rothbards. I did all that, and then I was like, okay, so this is obviously the way to go, but like, what are we going to do about it? So that's been my thing ever since, from the Freedom Umbrella of Direct Action to the Direct Action series on LUA Radio. And then, yeah, the Vonnie podcast after, and I guess that's the point. Around late 2018, after about a year and a half of the Vonnie podcast, is when the action part of it really, really started for me. I moved down spontaneously to live with my co-host Kyle Reardon in Austin, and it was only for a couple months, and the living situation changed again, and my buddy Jason Henza, who's at that time split time in the U.S. and also in Acapulco. And he asked me if I wanted to, ride down to Acapulco with him from Austin, and go stay out there for a month and a half, or a couple months until Christmas. So I went down to Acapulco for a little while. It was first I just hit the road, doing a little traveling and strategic relocation, and it was amazing. And that was like basically the last time I worked I guess a Servile Society job, like an actual 9 to 5 job. And basically, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good financial situation at all, but I just kind of went for it, and yeah, ended up back in where I am now at the homestead. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of the long story short, and I'm still here building and building liberation every day. So I guess yeah, that's kind of there's a lot of details intermixed there. It's been a long path, but yeah.
Cool, yeah, man. Yeah, it's a really good story. Like, I think you wrote a piece on. Did you write a piece on Will Cooper on our site? I'm pretty sure you did. I can't remember, but
Maybe I think I wrote up something for in memorial of his death when he was shot or killed. So I think there might have been I think that might have been ended up there too. Yeah, I think you're right.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, it was. if man, this was years ago since I read it, but I remember that being a good piece. I'll have to reread it. But
Sorry,
yeah, just
I should mention if anyone's interested in the entire Bill Cooper collection, I got scared. I got scared. What was it? A year and a half ago now, because it was the Hour of the Time website started to get kind of not reliable, and my worst fear was those 1,400 episodes, 2,000 hours disappearing. So, I thought about going through each, 1,400 episodes and, saving each file manually. But thankfully, I called in my buddy Matthew Raymer, and he wrote up a script real quick. And within like 5 minutes, I had the whole 5 GB. It was 1990s, so it was like 5 GB for 1,400 episodes. Crazy. So that's available on the Vonnie Podcast website. If you just go to the VonniePodcast.com, just go to the search bar, type in Bill Cooper, and you can have his entire collection. Which again, I don't necessarily agree with all of it now, but like he was a big influence, a big influence on me, and there was a lot of really valuable stuff, and it's always good to have it in an additional place. So feel free to download if you like.
yeah, yeah, and he's like a statist and like a minarchist, a constitutionalist. I think a lot of us were at some point in time. But yeah, if he was still alive today, it would be interesting to see like where he's at. Because like I thought that during the Obama years, I thought Alex Jones was eventually going to hit, at least like super libertarianism or like anarchism, but it looked like he went the other way, just like he did a Molyneux.
Yeah, for sure. No, it would certainly be interesting. Like I would love to hear Bill's take on a lot of stuff happening today because he wouldn't have, I guarantee you, Bill would not have fallen for the Trump nonsense like Alex did and has. Um, so that like there's that, and then there's also it's fun like it's going back and and I guess going back in the I guess the radicalist history per se, but there's a video on YouTube of the spat between Alex Jones and Bill Cooper, and Alex Jones lying about Bill Cooper and all that. So yeah, Bill never really liked Alex from that point, but it's interesting when Bill was shot in I think it was November of 2001 when he was shot and killed. The Alex was the up and coming one. So like so like obviously my conspiratorialist self, like hyper conspiratorialist self back then. And I think it's still probably the case. It'd be interesting to see what would happen there because Alex kind of took over for Bill. Um, yeah, took over for basically just took over his audience essentially. So yeah, it'd be completely different, completely different world. But yeah, I'm curious, but I guess we'll never know, at least not in this lifetime.
I don't remember exactly the details of the shooting. Could you go into that and like do they know who shot him or anything like that?
Oh, Bill. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no all the details are out in the open, and I might get I'll get really close, but there's a documentary called The Hour of the Time, which was made I guess 5 years after Bill's death, and that's probably it's the best representation of his work. And yeah, I'd recommend people watch that too. But yeah, I guess there was a circumstance. It was November of 2001 when he was shot, and people thought that it was, now it's like, oh
You
well,
said
he was
November
predicted
of '02 or
two,
'01?
2001, 2001.
2001.
hmm yeah, people nowadays kind of theorize like, oh well, it was obviously because he predicted 9/11. But it was local cops, and I verified. I interviewed a guy. It's crazy. I never the people I've gotten in contact with. My first ever interview was with a guy named A. Ralph Epperson, who wrote a book in 1985 called The New World Order, and Bill interviewed him in like 1994 when I was like two. But I got in contact with A. Ralph Epperson somehow, and he sent me his DVDs to host on the AOA YouTube channel. So that's the only place they're available digitally because he sent them to me to rip and upload. But Ralph knew Bill, and he's from Arizona, and so he basically, what happened? There was a local sheriff, and Bill had always been. He always said if the cops ever showed up, he would defend himself. So like, I was never. He'd said that 1,000 times. He's not afraid to die. Was always his thing. So, yeah, he apparently threatened the sheriff, and he had a warrant out for his arrest, and they were serving the warrant, and yeah, he went in and and grabbed the gun. By that time, the past a year or two ago, sent his wife and his daughter away. because things were getting really really hot, and yeah he was, and he was clued in. Obviously, he was clued in. If he predicted 9/11 in June 28th, 2001, and not only did he predict it, but he said, "Don't blame no, whatever they're going to blame on Bin Laden. Don't you even believe it." Um, so yeah, I mean, he was definitely clued in. He sent his wife and daughter away, and yeah, I mean, I don't agree with with a lot of what he said, and even some of the anti-secret society stuff that he went really far into, I've kind of turned a corner on. Like I don't necessarily think like there's not just one monolithic branch of like Rosicrucianism, for example, and he just kind of assumed that all of them were evil. And it's like no, there's bastardized versions of everything, everything in life, and this is one of those areas too. So I've kind of come full circle on that a little bit per se. So it's been especially after 2020. So it's been interesting. But yeah, that's I guess that's a story.
Yeah, so he got killed by police in Arizona, right?
Yeah, local sheriff's office, I think. Not even
Is
like it wasn't feds or anything. No.
yeah, like it wasn't Maricopa County, was it?
It was Eager, Arizona was where Bill lived. Eager, Arizona. I'm
Ah,
not sure
okay.
what county that is. But yeah, it wasn't, I wish it would before I talked to Ralph about it, he kind of, he popped my airship or popped my balloon. Because obviously I was with everyone else thinking for sure that, they had to go after and get him because he was about to release the second Mystery Babylon series. But no, I mean I think that's the case. He definitely wasn't, one of their friends by any means, but um, and maybe they would have gone after him.
Like later on, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But
Not yet.
yeah, it's yeah, very, very interesting. So give us a take of like what he thought of the secret societies. Again, what you had said you had done
Hmm.
a complete
Sure.
turn on.
Yeah, so Bill's take was basically, all like basically that Freemasonry is evil. That basically I guess alchemy would be evil, I guess evil to or at least the yeah, I guess I won't speak to it. That was his last episode was actually on alchemy. I'm gonna release that sometime on the Vonnie podcast feed. It was one of his last couple episodes, exactly what I was looking into like the past like couple of few years. But yeah, basically all secret societies are bad. They hide the information, the knowledge from humanity to control them, and it's been this thousand year plan to start the new world order essentially. The one world communist government, which I guess you could say that the WEF and stuff are they kind of look like that, but yeah, that was kind of his summarizing 2,000 hours of radio, of radio. That's basically it. They're all evil because they're hiding knowledge from humanity. And but I came across it was Temple of Illuminati document from Rosicrucians like 1907 it was originally published, and it was on kind of the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Essenes, which were the early pre-Christ Christians. And I opened this thing up and this is before this is very I still held Bill's view at that point. That it's all evil. But I opened it up and it was just like love and voluntarism and anti-war and I was like, hold on, are these people anarchists? Like what's going on here? It's like this like I agree with all this. Like this is what I've been saying. This is what I've been saying. People I've been, associating with the past, 5 years who have been, doing and talking about. Weird. What's going on here? So that was kind of the first mind-blowing thing. And there's even a quote. I'll pull it up. I'll remember the where it's the episode on ancient second realms that I did. And the quote, and this is just one of many. Quote, the solution which the Essenes offered for economic and social harmony can be applied in every age, the present as well as the past. It contained four factors, separating number one, and this is just number one, separating from the chaotic conditions of the mass of mankind, which refuses to obey natural and cosmic law. End quote. So that was like the Essenes, and this would be Jesus in the Essenes, essentially. Going back, going back even to that point when they predicted Jesus coming back in the ancient, I guess the original Church of Jerusalem. But so yeah, that was the main, I guess, the main catalyst for the change, and then just continuing, my own personal exploration. Freemasonry changed in 1717 with the Grand Lodge in Britain. Um, pre-1717 Freemasonry and post-1717 Masonry are completely different things. So I think that's where, and Bill was going like, but he tore through, he read everything, and he was kind of working his way back to certain points. I just don't think he'd had time to get back, get back to like what was going on necessarily in the 1700s with Freemasonry. Maybe not. Um, but yeah, that's the change. 1717 is a big year, for Freemasonry. And then yeah, you go back to the
What,
Knights Templar
what,
before that. Go ahead.
which year was that?
1717.
1770.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like when I think of Freemasonry, I think of like basically I think of like most of the members not really like knowing like exactly what goes on. And I think they're like very, there's like different levels of the secret society and stuff. And I think like the lower levels don't really know, and they may do things that people tell them, but they don't really know like exactly. Um, they may not know like why they're doing them, or how it helps the cause or
hmm
whatever. But yeah, I think most like Freemasonry is definitely bad. But like, how is like so this is like a different part of Freemasonry, or this is like a part of it, or like what is like I'm just trying to like wrap my head around
It's yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, it's a good question. So yeah, like there was Freemasonry was more kind of decentralized before, and this was where you had at the Grand Lodge of Freemasonry, which is like it's like the United Nations of Freemasonry today, just to put it in different terminology. But no, you're exactly right. There's no Freemasons today. Like it's so co-opted and just it's so whitewashed. Like even the ceremonies that they do aren't necessarily the same. Again, that's another important factor. Post 1717 is the stuff isn't really even the same anymore. But Freemasonry, a lot of Shriners, a lot of that stuff is just a boys' club now. It's and they do a lot of like community events and fundraising and stuff, which is all well and good, but it's not like these people aren't going to be able to. I mean, they aren't studying ancient laws of Hermeticism or looking into the Essenes or anything. They don't even know who the Essenes are probably. Um, so yeah, it's not anything. Yeah, it's even up to like the 32nd or 33rd degrees, or I don't think that's too difficult of something to achieve. But yeah, when you get into the higher echelons, which would be like the Ordo Templi Orientis. If anyone's ever seen Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, that's basically a documentary on these people. But yeah, like actual like the 1% of quote unquote Freemasons, they're in a lot of other darker stuff, and it wasn't just Freemasonry. So I hope that answers some of that question. But actually, you asked if it was like a different branch. So like whether you call it like Freemasonry or the Knights Templar or something from like the Eastern traditions, there are these truths that radiate throughout all of these things, and there are some that are further away from like the original truths per se. There's some that are closer to it, and some that are further away. So again, it's not a black and white answer. But yeah, any Freemason lodge, you're probably not going to find much of this stuff. Like Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, you might get into some of this stuff, especially like maybe Rosicrucianism. But hard to put into words, hard to explain. I've not really talked about this publicly much, but it has been my focus for the past 3 or 4 years, trying to assimilate this. I'll stop there. If any other questions that come up, yeah, feel free to ask. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, I want to get into the like nomadic trading. So basically, if somebody is already transporting something, and they may have like some extra room, they could transport something else for like if somebody needs something in Pasnia, right? So like
hmm
whatever they trade, I guess.
hmm
Could you go into like some details in terms of like nomadic trading in Pasnia and any of that?
Sure, yeah, yeah. So we call it our Pasadena Department of Transportation, and right now, this was another infrastructure thing that is available now. But along with the Pasadena Map and Directory in January, I also put together it's called Pasadena List, and it's like the Craigslist of the second realm. So people can go to pasadena.com/, I think it's just list, pasadena.com/list, and you can list whatever different categories. second realm category. It's the Craigslist second realm, so it's a little different, but obviously the same thing. Like seeking work or looking for help or all that basic stuff is there. But I also threw the Department of Transportation on there for the moment, and no one's really used it. And I understand it's not how I. It was a one click, basically like 2 minutes to toss it in there, or maybe even like 20 seconds. So I just went ahead and did it. But the eventual goal is to find the skeleton for because there's obviously like phone apps out there that exist today for like logistics network, like logistics companies. And if you find the skeleton for that, you can program in anything you want to. Where it's like, you open up this app on your phone and it's, the Pasadena Department of Transportation. It's got the Pasadena flag with the van in there. And people open it up and it shows like, Thomas Paine is going from Keene, New Hampshire. We'll be traveling through this Freedom Festival in Midfest in Oklahoma. And then he'll be traveling to Vonufest and at Veritas. And then he's going to make a run down to Sekistan in Tennessee, and pick up some pickles there and go take them to, take a load of 24 pickles over to Montana where there's another Pasnia. Whatever, I don't know what all that like whatever anything and everything, I guess can be shipped if the shipper and the driver agree on it. So, yeah, I guess that's the vision. I mean, logistics and transportation is a major part of the first realm, and it'll be a major part of ours too, especially in a geographically independent country. So yeah, it's that's kind of the long and short. I don't know what else. See if there's any other details.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
that it's great. It's great, man. It's like it's like a decentralized country in essence. I think that's really cool. So, yeah.
That's the idea for sure. Yeah.
Um, cool. Uh, Tell us about Vonifest.
Sure, yeah. So Vonnie Fest 5 this year will take place from September 30th to October 7th here at the Veritas Node of the Free Republic. Um Obviously it's a vetted network, so you got yeah, you can't just it's not just like public, not anyone can just come. But it's not super hard to get vetted. Basically the idea is if you want to come out here, I've got to know you personally, we've got to know you personally, or we have to know someone in common that will vouch for your reputation. And it's usually easy to do, even if even just like digitally, the network of the communities are growing, but it's still not that large. So usually you can find someone like, oh, so and so, like, oh yeah, I did this, like, oh yeah, I stayed with them for like 6 months, and then you reach out to them and they're like, oh yeah, no, that person's great. And it's like, okay, well, never met either of you, but you're vetted. Is so yeah, just to make it trying to. Some people think it's like a huge obstacle to get vetted, and we're obviously not just gonna let anyone in, but it's not hard to get vetted. Um, and yeah, so it's a week-long event. Want people to get here and settle in the second realm, and we don't have like necessarily scheduled talks or anything like that. Although this year there might be one scheduled talk on Friday or Saturday evening. I don't know if I want to. I'm not going to tease it. I can't do it because then it might not happen. I'm keeping stuff really close to the vest. There's a few good really good confirmation I've gotten so far. And but otherwise the idea is people come out here, they can learn that they can check out the homestead. We've got Aura's got a number of really great gardens. Um yeah, she's a wizard at the gardening. People can learn about all that. There's always self-liberation activities. First year we assembled a 3D printer and got it testing out there underneath the carport outside. Pat Henry is given self-defense training, pistol training essentially, here on the property. What else is there? There's always there's always a ton. But the idea is you get on the second realm. There's the entertainment and the interaction aspect, which is crucially important. And then we usually just add in a few possible activities. Whether land processing, we usually do that when people are here. People can see the process of processing a lamb. Lots of stuff in the realm of self-sufficiency, but yeah, it's not just about fun. We're here to have fun, but we're also here to learn and actually, take some knowledge home and apply it. So, yeah, that's Vonifest. if anyone is interested in coming out, especially, Agorist Nexus is a great Nexus, email coordinator@pasnia.com, or you can DM me on Telegram, Simplex, or wherever there's, yeah, we'll get connected. And would love to have anyone out here that has that has verifiably forsworn the use of coercion, and that we can, just trust to be kind, loving, and peaceful. Is the objective. And we've done a great job the past 4 years, so we aren't changing anything yet. Um, other possible activities around that time, there's usually mushroom foraging potentialities. Turkey tails available all the time, and then there's Hen of the Woods, I think is one that comes out at that time here. So yeah, mushroom foraging, hiking, fishing, swimming, rhino rides in the woods with Paradise, or side by side rides in the woods with Paradise. Lots of really great stuff. Great people, and would love to have anyone out here for sure.
Yeah, man, that land processing sounds like something I need to do myself. Like, I want to eventually, once my some of my smaller trees start to grow, I want to try to get like goats or something, to help me clean up all the fruit that I'll have falling in future years. But hopefully, if everything goes according to plan, you never know, years out. But yeah, it would be cool to have like some goats or something cleaning up some of my fruit tree stuff and stuff like that. So yeah, like any kind of animal processing, like lamb or goat, is something that I want to try to get into personally. Cool, man. Well, tell us about Liberty Under Attack. I mean, how did you started Liberty Under Attacks like right around the time to basically publish like Rayu stuff, right? And you've got all different kinds of stuff on there. Actually, one of my favorite books, it's got like it's like a fiction. It's called #Agora. It's really cool. Definitely check that out. But yeah, tell us about Liberty Under Attacks and some of the books you have and how you came to found it, man.
For sure, yeah. So I mentioned that it was originally Liberty Attack Radio, so I went live radio and then to LU Wave podcasts. And then I basically just shoved all of the content was essentially the same. I maintained two podcast feeds for a little while, and I realized it was not a smart move. So all the podcasts just moved over to, and all that sort of content moved over to VonuPodcast.com. And at that same time, I was writing I guess my only book at this point, Vonu: The Search for Personal Freedom. And I mean, I didn't do a lot of research. Thankfully, it didn't do too much because it would have been a waste of time. There were no like liberty focused publishers out there, or anything like that at that time. So I wrote my book and just decided I'd start liberty type publications. Kind of like the Pazny idea. It wasn't really like anything planned out. Goddamn grateful that I did it. So yeah, Vonu: The Search for Personal Freedom was my first book, or my only book, and then I also republished. #Agora was just a .txt document posted on the anarplex.net website, which is not up anymore. It was just a .txt document published anonymously, and it's an amazing book.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it's like, okay, well, screw it. I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna republish it. So I republished it, and the first one I didn't do much formatting, and it was kind of garbage. I was learning, I'm sorry. But that eventually got fixed thanks to some prompting comments from the Amazon reviews, which again, I'm happy they mentioned it because there's a better version up there now. So
I don't even know which
book,
version I got, but I got one like what was it? I think around like 2020 or something.
Yeah, there might have been a bunch of typos in there and stuff. The complaint is valid, but again, this is a .txt document published anonymously on anarplex.net, a site that no one ever visited. So again, like the expectation should be lower for but anyway, it's whatever. So yeah, so there was my book #Agora, and the second round book on strategy, which was another one of those published on Anarplex, with a guy I don't think he's been on Twitter for a couple of years, like Frank Braun as well. But they published this book on Anarplex. I interviewed him a couple times in the Vonu podcast, and before that, I messaged him and asked him if I could publish it as a book, and he was, yeah, go for it. And if you want to send me a Bitcoin donation here or there, like that's cool. So like that was the original inspiration, and then yes, there were various Vonu zine publications. I mentioned Jim Stum earlier and acquiring this massive tome of Vonuism libertarian literature from the 60s and 70s. So I've been digitizing that for the past 4 or 5 years, putting it out. All of it's available for free, but if people want paperback versions, I don't like reading off a screen. I like to be able to easily take a book out in the woods or wherever, wherever I want to read. But
Yeah, sometimes you definitely have to have just that paperback feel, or that book feel like you're turning pages. What's funny about the book #Gora is that when I was reading it, I couldn't stop thinking about Karate Kid because I think the guy's name is like LaRusso or something.
the same, yeah,
Daniel
Daniel LaRusso.
is
Yeah, I think it's the
yeah
same name.
yeah, I think it's the same. So yeah, that's I thought that was funny, but yeah, it's definitely a good book, and I definitely recommend people check it out. It's on Liberty Under Attack. What else do you guys have up there over
Yeah,
there?
yeah. So, in the same vein, I'll start with kind of the agorist fiction. Agorist fiction is like something that I love and always inspired by. Like #Agora, alongside Night, things like that are hugely inspirational. They're fiction, but at the same time, they provide a lot of potentialities for ways we could build freedom in the future. There's a one of our original LUA publications clients, one of our authors, Matthew Witecki, has the Brushfire series, Brushfire and 2048. 2048 is the most recent release, and this is the Agorist Nexus podcast. So, it's the 2048 is the year that Konkin mentioned, specifically. So he kind of set the stage of the second book, to I think it's will be staged where it's basically they've got control over their few areas, but otherwise people can basically live free. So kind of like today, like they've got San Francisco and New York City and Chicago and places like that. But that's kind of the inspiration for it. So I mean, Brushfire and 2048 are amazing. I just actually put up in the past couple of days the hardcover bundle. It's one of our first. I think it's our first hardcover bundle. And Brushfire 2048 are available in that fashion. Otherwise, yeah, there's a lot of great freedom philosophy books. There's a lot of great, yeah, again, the Vonu zines are all available if you want to learn more about Rayo and the liberating freedom strategy of Vonu. And we've got, I guess, some spirituality and self-help type stuff. One of our clients wrote a book on cannabis as the divine feminine and coca, like the original coca leaf as the divine masculine. So if people are interested in topics like that. I mean, all sorts of stuff, in terms of books. But we also offer beyond just books, privacy tools. Our good friend Jamin Bakonik has been hardware hacking Lenovo ThinkPads and other technology, taking out the Intel management engines from the ThinkPads, putting in an open source vetted alternative, and then throwing something like Linux, whatever distribution or something like that on there. And I guess a big thing the past couple of few years has been the Ghost phones. We sell Calyx OS and Graphene, Google Pixel 4a's, and they are, I think they're like 300 something dollars. It's compared to the cost of phones, not bad, not bad at all. And
Yeah, and they're
yeah.
completely private. They're like privacy phones, de-Googled, of course.
Hmm.
And yeah, if you guys know Graphene OS, it's only for like Pixel phones and really cool stuff. I definitely say get away from Google because I think today they're probably like just another branch of the government in essence,
Yeah.
and it's kind of
Google and
hard for
Microsoft
like
might be worse in the state now, even, unfortunately.
yeah,
Not necessarily in terms of
perhaps.
direct coercion, but the amount of data that they get on a daily basis, I guess just like personal financial data. And yeah, Google, Microsoft, they can hammer you too. I guess there's also kind of the AI angle. The more data you can collect, the more crazier of an AI you can come out with, I suppose.
Yeah,
Um,
the less information they have on you, the better. And I'm not trying to shill my sponsor again, but that's definitely why I recommend Presearch. They're decentralized, privacy focused.
mhm.
All their information's on different nodes running, and then that information is not even stored. There's no like central location for it. So across thousands of different computers. So definitely check out Presearch, guys, and if you use my link, you'll get 50 pre too. So, and I'll have the link in the description. But but yeah,
Uh,
that's a
yeah,
huge reason
I'm
why
glad you
I
mentioned that. Yeah.
recommend pre-search. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the search engine problem is like one of the biggest problems today. So obviously, like there's been the memory holing thing, which has always happened. It's why I've ran archives on the LU website since like 2015 because information disappears. It's always disappeared from the internet. But it's getting worse. And the search engine problem is yeah, one of the biggest. So yeah, pre-search, great. Anything alternative because I've tried to use all the alternatives, whether it's Start Page or DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo just pulls the same results as Google, I'm pretty sure. Start Page does the
Yeah,
same thing, I think. So a lot of them are pulling the same results as Google, so they're useless essentially. They just don't track you. But the best one I've found as of late is actually Yandex, which is it's kind of shitty. A lot of the services that are the best are the Russian ones, and it may not be for positive reasons, but Yandex has been the best one so far, like as far as like a centralized service. But yeah, pre-search would be great. And there's also another one which it's not even a competitor pre-search. It's been around for a long time. People don't really use it. It's difficult to use. So that's one of the problems with a lot of open source software. It's super hard to use. And but Yacey is another one of those search engine alternatives that Matthew Ramer's been talking about for like I mean almost a decade now since we've been talking. And there's still no. I mean I'm sure there's development on it, but it's pre-search is way more popular. And that's good. Search is one of the biggest problems. So I'm
yeah,
always happy to see
definitely.
solutions.
And not even not even collecting your information, but like hiding and censoring your searches. Like I think years back, I did a Google search. I did like three different search engines. It was like DuckDuckGo, Google, and pre-search. And DuckDuckGo and Google had the same results, but I was Googling Jeffrey Epstein, like how many times has Bill Clinton been to Epstein's island? And like on the first two pages, there was like nothing. And then with pre-search, it was like fourth or third, fourth, or fifth, I can't remember. Um, Search down had the information that I was looking for. So that one search alone was like, holy shit, there's a huge difference, and it's only going to get worse from here. So definitely, get used to using pre-search for sure is my recommendation. But if there's what I do love about pre-search is that if you do want to change to a different search, like if you wanted to use Google, they've got a really simple, easy, just click of the button. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change the search to Google now, or I'm going to even change the search to YouTube, and it will go exactly to YouTube and have the same exact search that you typed in. So it makes it very, very simple and easy to switch back and forth. And this wasn't my idea today to like completely show pre-search, but there's a definitely reason why I believe in the project, and there's a reason why I tell people about it.
As you said, yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. There's nothing wrong with nothing wrong. It's yeah, as long as I mean, it's why I hype a lot of the stuff or all the stuff that I promote because it's the best shit out there for what people are trying to achieve. Pre-search is as far as popularity and usability, it seems to be that. So yeah,
Yeah, and just
nothing wrong with
decentralized
that.
alone is nice because all the information is not in one place. So like even if they wanted to try to get information off servers, see the information is um now if there's like a back door or something, I'm sure that almost anybody's vulnerable in some way, shape, or form. But even if they wanted to try to get all of your search data, they couldn't because it'd be on, 1,000 different, you know, if you did 1,000 searches, they'd each be on a different node. They'd each be on a different server. So you wouldn't even be able to get that information if you wanted, or if they could. So,
Hmm.
just having decentralized, just decentralization alone is like important. I know that there's pretty good search engines out there that like some of the Russian ones, but I don't know if they're like all. I know some. I don't think Yandu is. Did I pronounce that right? Yandu. I don't think that's
Yeah,
decentralized per
Yandex.
se, but Yeah,
Oh no, it's
Yandex.
it's
Yandex.
no, it's probably not. No, yeah, it's not the optimal solution. It's kind of, yeah, it's kind of like instead of torrenting, like Yandex is very good if you're looking for like the quote unquote illegal streaming sites that you can't find on Google. But again, like torrenting or having your own private, access to those things is a lot better. But yeah, I wouldn't don't trust the damn Russians. No, just like it. But they let a little more stuff through right now. Temporary solution. But yeah, so decentralization is one thing, and I guess one of the other revelations from the past couple of years, it's something James has been working on for a long time with the Ghost, I guess the Ghost system, because the entire system, Ghost system. Um, is that like owning your infrastructure and the hardware is also critical, because you can run all the best decentralized privacy software. You can run you can run Linux on your normal Windows laptop that flash the OS yourself. But the hardware and the infrastructure is a vulnerability. So yeah, that's one of the biggest drivers for the Ghost Pads and the Ghost phones is if we've got a decentralized network like Pasny is, and it's obviously always going to be decentralized. We're not all gathering in the same area is not smart. It's not wise. Security culture. Why? I mean, why don't they ever get like it was like the in terms of like the line of succession for continuity of government? There's a reason they aren't all in the same place at the same time, right? You don't want everyone to get killed and not have anyone to perform continuity of government. So it makes sense. Yeah, same concept here. Same concept here. So I would recommend libertyattack.com/privacy tools. Just check it out. You can flash all this stuff yourself and do it yourself. All that's available, and Jamie and I have talked about it extensively over the past like 7 years on podcasts. So the information's out there. But if you're like me and you'd just rather outsource that to someone you can actually trust, then like these are great routes, and there will be a lot more offerings soon. The one I'll mention for people looking for like a desktop alternative, it's not listed yet. There's going to be about a dozen new listings in the coming months. But we've got up to like they're called Ghost Stations with Ubuntu Creator Studio. This is my main podcasting OBS, my main like content creation Linux computer, and it's been a beautiful transition. Um, and it's a huge computer, huge laptop actually. It's just a laptop, but it's huge. Um, the Ghost tablets are fun, smaller versions, but I mean anything in between, and they're all cheap because the idea. I mean, I've got like three or four of these laying around, so I've got a few Ghost phones laying around. They all serve different purposes for different things, and it's not like the first realm where you got to go in and drop like $1,000 on a new iPhone or some nonsense like that. Affordable. The idea is, yeah, you have a lot of them for different purposes. And then, oh shit, we're just talking about
You
Lego
almost did
publications.
you almost did a Trump there for a second. Huge laptop, beautiful. I'm just
About that
kidding
bad.
around.
No, it's about that. I talk about these. I preach these up a lot. Well, not as much as I should probably, but I use them every day, and I'm to the point where I'm transitioning everything I use off of Windows, however I can. And as
Yeah,
an
you almost
example,
have to
we have a
now. I think Windows is taking like Windows 11, I think Windows 10 maybe too. I think they're taking a screenshot of your desktop like every 10 or 15 seconds or something like that. Crazy. I heard something on that. Now don't quote me guys because I don't exactly know, but there's some kind there I heard something about that. I should definitely take a look at that and maybe even do an article on it or something. But yeah, Windows does some real scandalous shit, and like even if you want to like check out you take a look at the dark web and not even buy anything on it, because there's actually like a lot of like informational. Not even I'm not even talking about like merchant stores or any of that crap. I'm just talking about like there's a lot of like informational stuff on the dark web that's just like regular news. Like even New York Times has like some like a dark net web page,
yeah.
but yeah, even just looking at something like that on the dark web, I think you've got, you don't even want to look at it using Windows OS. You want to use,
No.
Linux. So
Yeah, the only way to use it on a Windows machine is if you had like a Linux Tails bootable USB drive, which those are great for just for privacy, or if you're extremely paranoid, that's okay too. Both are certainly okay and reasonable. But no, like, yeah, no, it's you're exactly right, and it's to the point now where, so on our, I've got a family distillery, and I handle all the technical stuff. And I we so they the computer, the laptop that they bought for it like 5 years ago had a 128 gigabyte hard drive on it, and at this point, well, I guess within like the past 4 months ago. Um, like 95% of that storage space was eaten up by like updates on like just Windows. So like you couldn't even download a picture or like just like anything small like an email, because the space was all, was messed up. So I put a new SSD drive in it, terabyte 2 terabyte drive, and I had the hardest time ever installing Windows. Apparently it's a common problem with that model. So I just said, F it. I'm just throwing Ubuntu on there. This is the work computer that my parents use, all of that. So I threw Ubuntu Creator Studio on it, put a Windows theme on it with a Windows background, and I changed the name of the various files so that it would look the same. And with what they use, they'll never know. But it's kind of a test too, like especially as of like yesterday, like the big there is that big bug in the whatever it was Office 365 software. Yeah, if you rely on
Yeah, yeah,
Microsoft or some company like that nowadays, like Jesus, like that's bad. Like it just shows like it's not. And this is how you know, there's a lot of fear mongering about like a cyber war, like cyber attacks and things like that. And it's like there's doesn't be a cyber attack if one centralized, you know, like, I guess cyber security solution like was it CrowdStrike is on like 90% of machines, computers working, or like some really high percentage. There has to be no conspiracy. It's just like it's turn off a switch. Like that's it. Which is why, yeah, the solutions that like that when you look into how easy data storage is, how easy it is to just like flash an entire hard drive onto something else, have a backup. You realize a lot of the stuff that like within the state, like, oh, the information just disappeared. Yeah, bullshit. It did
yeah,
disappear. That doesn't happen.
yeah,
You can
yeah.
you, you can prevent that with like $25 hard drives. So with your big budget, I
Mhm.
bet you can figure it out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Windows could even like just have a bad update or something. The bad update goes on to thousands of computers and bam, man.
Right.
Like especially how you were saying yesterday with that what was it, 3556 problem or some shit. But yeah, I posted a bunch of memes on the Windows controversy yesterday or cyber attack or yeah. So I think we're pretty much going to wrap it up here real
Hmm.
quick. Where can people find you? Of
Yeah.
course, we'll get under tax, all that, passing it.
Yeah, yeah, certainly, certainly. Well, it's been great chatting again. I wasn't expecting to get into some of the tech stuff, but that's been um, especially in the past week or two, it's been a lot of tech problems. So I guess it makes sense. But yeah, anyway, VanuPodcast.com is a place to go for all things Vanu, the podcast, a lot of free audiobooks, second round book on strategy audiobooks on there, a lot of audiobooks, a lot of too many to mention. The hashtag war one, not yet. That one still needs to be done. But free books, free audiobooks, the entire archives, all of it's there. LibertyAttack.com for anything books, privacy tools. We've even got wellness products on the LibertyAttack.com website catalog now. Or as apothecary with like comfrey and black drawing salve. There's jewelweed salve, which is really popular right now with poison ivy. And then I just released the Pain Liberator with accurate with the same branding as you would expect from my outfits. The Pain Liberator with dimethyl sulfoxide, DMSO, and aspirin. It's localized, hypercharged pain relief. So, it's hard to do anything liberation wise if you don't feel good and if you're constantly in pain. So, I can help you with liberating with that too. I've gotten a lot of great feedback on it, and there's an entire pain liberator product line coming now. Just started experimenting with icy hot with menthol crystals, like a natural, healthy icy hot for more than just pain. So yeah, health and wellness stuff's on there. And then yeah, lastly, the Free Republic of Pasnia is the rebuilding of the first realm of the Servile Society, all the atrocities that have brought you to be tuning into the Agorist Nexus podcast right now. There's a need for alternatives, so we're building an alternative parallel network founded upon voluntarism, truth, and all of those things. So Passionate.com is the website. You can become a stakeholder. You can just take a look at, what we're working on in various areas. I was just working today on health and wellness general guide, which I will just release for free, and it's a lot of health and wellness knowledge from the past like 3 or 4 years condensed, even longer than actually 4 or 5 years condensed into one document for you to use for your practical uses, and not having to rely upon Babylon Pharmaceuticals or those that will that will kill you when they try to heal you. That's not the best outlet to go. So yeah, I guess that's it. In terms of the plugging stuff. But yeah, anything I do, it's I believe in it, and a lot of times we make it here ourselves, like the Comfrey Self, the Comfrey's grown here. I guess we've got canned goods on there too if you want to order some pickles or I think there's cowboy candy on there still and some other things. But yeah, I mean anything we can do for you, we try to make it out there and available at Liberty Type Publications, libertydac.com. So it's been great talking, man. I always love chatting. Need to get you back on Vonu here at some point too.
Yeah, man, I'd love to come on. I've done. I probably have some stuff to say now. I've done. It's been quite a while since that last happened. Since I was off on. So, but yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up with a quote here. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. The quote here is, just as the state is obsolete as a means of defense against foreign governments and private criminals, so politics are obsolete as a means of defense against the state. Political reform, revolutions, or education at most changes rulers and slogans. It does not bring about enduring freedom. In a community of a few hundred, democratic procedures can be helpful. In a nation of millions, they are only placebos. That's Vonu Life, March 1973. So that's a Rayu quote, right?
It is, yes. Yeah, one of my favorite Rayo quotes. Yeah, back in like
Yeah.
1967. Yeah, hammering down on the fear industrial complex.
Yeah, man,
Back that far ago.
that's such a good quote. Yeah, Agorist is out.
I'm plugged into the Agorist nexus. We need the whole community connected. We're the alternative collective. Self-sufficient and effective. Self-sufficient and effective. Each one teach one. Self-sufficient and effective. Free knots.